ultimate beneficiary of all material sacrifices, Vedic sacrifices, Bhoktaram. And Krishna and Suridam are best friend. But by seeing things separate from Krishna, or independent of Krishna, although everything is connected to Krishna, but seeing things independent of Krishna, we try to exploit them for our own sense gratification, and at that point we become subject to the laws of karma. This is explained in more detail in the fourth chapter. It says, Yat gyatva na punar mohan evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutani sesani drakshase atmani atomai. If a person is fortunate enough to have a bona fide spiritual master and approaches the spiritual master in a proper way, as Arjuna is approaching Krishna in a proper way, tat vidi paripatena paripasnena sevaya upadeksyami te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshinaha. One should approach a spiritual master with pranipat, paripasnena, and sevaya, with a submissive attitude, asking significant questions about spiritual life, and offering seva or service. You have to go pick up at the Redmond Old School. You know where that is? No. It's near the City Hall. Okay. The contract for Ananda Mela. I didn't have time to do it today.
So by when we have to pick?
Whenever we can. Okay. You know. And then I won't be here this week, so Nanda Sut has to sign it and give a check, and either send it back or just give it to you. You take it back to Nicole Wiebe.
Okay.
Right? It's at the old Redmond Schoolhouse.
Okay.
Nambakishore has the address.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so when we approach the spiritual master correctly, with pranipat, paripasnena, and sevaya, then we learn. We have questions, he has answers, and we create the proper atmosphere through submissive hearing, significant questions. As Maharaj Pariksha is asking so many significant questions here, because he's preparing for death, therefore he's not interested in what the stock market is going to do, he's not interested in the cricket game, he's not interested in anything other than Atma Tattva, the truth about the eternal soul and the soul's relationship to Paramatma, or the Supreme Soul, Krishna, who's in the heart of every living entity. So then when a person is serious like that, then what happens? Yajgatva na punar mohan evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutani sesani drakshasi atmani atomayi. Having obtained real knowledge from a bona fide spiritual master, you will never fall again into such illusion. What is the illusion? Thinking that everything I see in this world is independent of God, including myself, and that I can engage in sense gratification or exploiting things for my own selfish purpose with impunity. And that's not true. Everything belongs to Krishna. Isha Vaishyam Idam Sarvam Jatkinja Jagatyam Jagat Tena Taktena Bunjitaha Magritaha Kasyasviddanam. Krishna is Isha Vaishya, the Isha, the supreme controller, the supreme personality of Godhead. And the Jagat, the material energy, belongs to him. It's his own energy. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano buddhireva cha hankara ityame bina pakritirastata. The earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, these are his inferior, separated energies. Inferior meaning apara prakriti. And superior prakriti, that is all the living entities like us, that are part and parcel of the Lord. Mamayavam sa jiva loka, jiva bhuta sanatana. Manaksastan indriyani, pakriti stani karsati. That we are all mama eva amsa, a minute part and parcel of the Lord. Part and parcel means we are one with the Lord, but we still retain our individuality as the Lord retains his individuality. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam nemi janadipaha nasarvina nachayvina bhavishyami sarvavayam atakparam. Never was there a time, Arjuna, that I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings arrayed before us, nor will there ever be a time that we will cease to exist. So Krishna establishes in the 2nd chapter, 11th verse, the eternality and of the individual soul, as he does in 15th chapter, 7th verse, Mamaivam Sajiva Bhuta. So, Mamaivam Sajiva Loka, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So, the individual living entity, you and me, we are eternal individuals, but we are connected to Krishna. Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidadati Kamam. Krishna is the supreme eternal, and we are the dependent eternals. And he is maintaining all of us, just like he's maintaining this body, he's maintaining the earth, he's maintaining all the planets, he's maintaining the changes, seasons. Okay, they have to keep quiet. Yeah. So he's the supreme eternal, and we are the dependent eternals. So now, Maharaj Parikshit is asking this question. He's actually making the statement that one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death, but one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof. Well, this is what we should do before death, not be forced to do it by death. That means that a person is actually intelligent if they can do this before they die. And the foolishness of gross materialism is that people think of making a permanent settlement in this world, although it is a settled fact that one has to give up everything here that has been created by valuable human energy. Great statesmen, scientists, philosophers, etc., who are foolish, without any information of the spirit soul, the eternal soul, think that this life of a few years only is all in all, and that there is nothing more after death. This poor fund of knowledge, even in the so-called learned circles of the world, is killing the vitality of human energy. And the awful result is being keenly felt, and yet the foolish materialistic men do not care about what is going to happen in the next life. The preliminary instruction in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should know that the identity of the individual living entity is not lost even after the end of the present body, which is nothing but an outward dress only. As one changes an old garment, so the individual living being also changes his body, and this change of body is called death. Death is therefore a process of changing the body at the end of the duration of the present life. An intelligent person must be prepared for this and must try to have the best type of body in the next life. The best type of body is a spiritual body, which is obtained by those who go back to the kingdom of God or enter the realm of Brahman. In the 2nd chapter of this canto, the matter will be broadly discussed, but as far as the change of body is concerned, one must prepare now for the next life. Foolish people attach more importance to the present temporary life, and thus the foolish leaders make appeals to the body and the bodily relations. The bodily relations extend not only to this body, but also to the family members, wife, children, society, country, and so many other things which end at the end of life. After death, one forgets so many other things, after death, one forgets everything about the present bodily relations we have. Present bodily relations. We have a little experience of this at night when we go to sleep. While sleeping, we forget everything about this body and bodily relations, although the forgetfulness is a temporary situation for only a few hours. Death is nothing but sleeping for a few months in order to develop another term of bodily engagement, which we are awarded by the law of material nature according to our aspiration. Therefore, one has only to change the aspiration during the course of this present body, and for this there is need of training in the current duration of human life. This training can be begun at any stage of life or even a few seconds before death, but the usual procedure is for one to get the training from very early life, from the stage of brahmacharya, and gradually progress to the grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas orders of life. The institution which gives such training is called varnashrama dharma, or the system of sanatana dharma, the best procedure for making the human life perfect. One is therefore required to give up the attachment to family or social or political life just at the age of 50 years, if not earlier, and the training in the vanaprastha and sannyasa ashramas is given for preparation of the next life. Foolish materialists in the garb of leaders of the people in general stick to family affairs without attempting to cut off relations with them, and thus they become victims of nature's law and get gross bodies again according to their work. Such foolish leaders may have some respect from the people at the end of life, but that does not mean that such leaders will be immune to the natural laws under which everyone is tightly bound by the hands and feet. The best thing is therefore that everyone voluntarily give up family relations by transferring the attachment from family, society, country, and everything thereof to the devotional service of the Lord. It is stated herein that one should give up all desires of family attachment. Well, of course, if you just had a child, this does not apply to you. And if your child is only 5 years old, it doesn't apply to you. If your child is 60 years old and you're 80, it applies to you. Right? That's the point. Someone who has young children, their duty is to take care of the children. Give them a chance to be trained up in this spiritual knowledge so that they do not get falsely misled in this life, thinking that the purpose of life is just to make money, and the more money you get, supposedly the more happier you will be. And you use the money to buy all kinds of stupid gadgets that increase sense gratification. But that's not the purpose of life. Purpose of life is to live a peaceful, happy life by engaging the mind and the senses in the service of God and sharing that peace and happiness and love with others. That makes sense. But selfishly trying to aggrandize material sense gratification for oneself only creates envy. That's why there's fighting in families. Brothers fight. In fact, in India you have the Ambani family. They have so much money, but yet they're fighting each other in court. Does that make sense? Better to be poor but have loving relationships amongst the family, right? They have so much money, they go to court, one brother against the other brother. Mother takes the side of one of the brothers, and they're fighting it out in court. What for? For money and power. Why don't they have a contest? See who can develop the most love and affection. That would be better than to fight out, see who can get the more money. You see? But they're not trained in this knowledge. So after doing one's duty in life, having a family, taking care of the children, making sure they're well educated, spiritually and materially, not making sure they grow up to be demons by learning that we come from monkeys and all that nonsense that they teach in school. But they learn who is God, what is our relationship with God, how to act in that relationship. That's called sambandha, avideya, and prayojana. Sambandha means sambandha, developing a relationship with God, learning about it. Then, acting in that relationship, prayojana. And then, avideya. And then, prayojana, developing pure love for God. Just like if there's a salesman, he tries to develop some relationship with a client. Hello, how are you? Where do you come from? Oh, you come from, I come from that area too. You know, they try and get some link with each other, right? And then he offers some of his products, and for you, I will make no money. I'm going to sell this to you at cost price. Of course, that's a lie. But they do anything, lie, whatever. They get the product into the store or give out free samples. And then hopefully the product sells. Maybe they'll go and do some demos in the store, give out some free samples to the clients. Eventually the product sells, and then they have a very tight relationship. They're getting orders all the time. They're delivering the orders. They're making money. The store is making money. Well, in the same way, you develop a some relationship bond with Krishna. Then you act in that relationship. And through those actions of bhakti, devotion, you develop love for the Lord, and it becomes reciprocal. We can see what happens when you love Krishna. He becomes your servant also. He's driving Arjuna's chariot. Why would God do that? Because of love. Why do people pick up the stool of their dog? Because they love the dog. If you spell God backwards, what is it? Dog, right? So when they don't know God, they love dog. Love the dog so much that they pick the stool up when the dog passes, and they wait as the dog passes the stool, and then they pick it up and carry it. Would you do that for a dog? No. You go to India, you see all the wild dogs, right? They're out there. But you go to Delhi, people keep some of those dogs in the house. The same dog that's in the street, they keep. One day I was in a wealthy neighborhood of Delhi. Around 7 o'clock I was chanting my rounds. Some man walked out of the house with the same dog that's in the street, except his dog was healthy, his skin was nice, his hair was nice. And the other dogs were looking at it. But this dog was very healthy. He's like proud, on a leash. You see, India has become completely confused nowadays. They never kept dogs in the house before, right? But now they're keeping dogs. And they love the dog and ignore God. This is the sad state of things. Anyway, here, the institution which gives such training is called Varnashram Dharma, or the system of Sanatan Dharma, the best procedure for making the human life perfect. Yeah, you take a person who doesn't know anything, just like your child doesn't know anything. They don't even know, they're not even potty trained, but you potty train them. And at the same time, they have to wash their hands, keep their fingernails cut, keep their hair groomed nicely, put on clean clothes, right? If you leave it up to them, you say, no, we won't train the child, they'll be a natural child. No, it becomes like a savage. They'll pass stool anywhere, they won't clean themselves. If you leave it up to them, they don't know. They just will do whatever feels good. So forcing them to be potty trained, forcing them to wash their hands, to brush their teeth, to cut their fingernails, cut their hair, be on time, go to school, study, do their homework, that doesn't feel good. But if you don't teach them, then later on they'll blame you. They say, Mommy, Daddy, you didn't teach me all these things. Now I have to flip burgers in the McDonald's at $7 an hour. And all my friends who were trained by their parents, now they're working in Microsoft making $120,000 a year. I can't even make $20,000 a year because you didn't train me. And also, my friends, they go to the Hare Krishna temple and they're becoming devotees. And me, I'm going to the bar and spending the little bit of money I have on beer because you didn't teach me. There was once a boy, his mother was very poor. She was always complaining. One day he brought home a chicken. He said, Mom, look what I got. And she said, where did you get it? He said, well, don't ask. He said, okay, I won't ask. Let's just eat it. So they ate the chicken. So then the boy regularly would bring home a chicken. He was only like 12, 13, but he was stealing them. Then one day his mom said, oh, it'd be nice if we had, some nice vegetables too. He said, don't worry, Mom, I'll get it. She said, well, how are you going to get it? He said, don't ask. He said, okay, I won't ask. So then he started bringing vegetables too. He was stealing them. Then one thing led to another. He was stealing money. He was stealing jewelry. Now he grew up. He was like 18, 19. He killed somebody. He got into a fight with somebody while he was stealing from their house, and they killed him. So they took him to court. They convicted him as a murderer. Now his execution day was settled, so they're going to hang him in public. So they take him up to the hangman's noose, and he's standing like this with the noose around his neck, and his hands are tied, and they're going to put this black sort of cloth over his head so people can't see him writhing in pain as he's choking. And they say, "Do you have any final request?" He said, "Yes." I said, "What is that?" I said, "Let me talk to my mom before I die." I said, "Okay." So they bring his mom. She's crying, and she's looking at him. He's looking at her. I said, "Mom, come a little closer. I want to whisper something in your ear." So she comes a little closer like this. And he bites her ear off and spits it out in her face. And she's bleeding and she's screaming. He says, "Because of you that I'm like this. You never told me that stealing is bad. You just said, 'Oh, that's good. I'm glad you brought the chicken home. I'm glad you brought the vegetables. I'm glad you're bringing the money. Because of you, I'm like this.'" And then he looked at the hangman and said, "Now I'm ready to die." And they put him, they opened the false bottom of the platform, and he fell down, and he was twitching like this, and he's dead. So, you don't educate your kids, look what can happen. And when it happens, they'll blame you, because they say, "You never taught me." So it's, just doing things that feel good is not necessarily culture. Training people in Atma Tattva is necessary, and actually it's called Pavriti and Nivriti. Pavriti means short-term benefit, Nivriti means long-term benefit. So when a person goes to school, they engage in the tapasya of studying, or there's also the Gurukul, the spiritual school, where they learn that I'm not this body, everything belongs to Krishna, I should use everything in Krishna's service according to the instructions of Guru. So they get two trainings, spiritual training and material training, then they become civilized. Genuinely good people. A good person, if he finds a wallet of somebody else in the street, he picks it up and he thinks, if this was my wallet, I would pray to God, please let an honest person pick it up and return it to me. And because that's what I would want, if this was my wallet, that's what I will do for this other person. So he takes it, gives it back intact to the other person. That's called culture. Right? They will not steal, they will not lie, they will not cheat. So, here it says that foolish materialists in the garb of leaders of the people in general stick to family affairs without attempting to cut off relations with them, and thus they become victims of nature's law and get gross bodies again according to their work. Such foolish leaders may have some respect from the people at the end of life, but that does not mean that such leaders will be immune to the natural laws under which everyone is tightly bound by the hands and feet. The best thing is, therefore, that everyone voluntarily give up family relations by transferring the attachment from family, society, country, and everything thereof to the devotional service of the Lord. It is stated herein that one should give up all desires of family attachment. One must have a chance for better desires, otherwise there is no chance of giving up such morbid desires. Desire is the concomitant factor of the living entity. In other words, you can never stop desiring, just like you can never stop being active. The living entity is eternal, and therefore his desires, which are material for a living being, are also eternal. One cannot therefore stop desiring, but the subject matter for desires can be changed. So one must develop the desires for returning home back to Godhead, and automatically the desires for material gain, material honor, and material popularity will diminish in proportion to the development of devotional service. A living being is meant for service activities, and his desires are centered around such a service attitude, beginning from the top executive head of the state down to the insignificant pauper in the street. All are rendering some sort of service to others. The perfection of such a service attitude is only attained simply by transferring the desire of service from matter to spirit or from Satan to God. So, this transferring the desire from matter to spirit, that's the education one receives here. And what does that mean exactly? Well, giving up family life should only be done after one has taken care of all family responsibilities, raised the children properly, educated them properly, got them married, if that's the case. And then they're now able to support themselves. Then the husband and wife together take up a gradual process of renunciation. They have to become free gradually of having a house and everything goes with it. And then gradually take pilgrimages to holy places and perform tapasya together. The wife helps her husband perform tapasya, or voluntary abnegation of material things, progressively until both are completely confident of their position in spiritual life, and both are completely confident that they can remain like that for their last remaining years. Then the wife gives permission to her husband to take sannyas, and then she either lives in a holy place like Vrindavan or some other holy place, or she lives with her elder sons and continues her spiritual life, which is one of renunciation and contemplation of Krishna and service. And the husband becomes a mendicant preacher after such a long life of experience of developing Krishna consciousness. So one can use all the skills they've acquired, skills of diplomacy, skills of handling money, skills of being able to talk to people without insulting them, and having the ability to convince people to do the right thing, how to deal with children, how to deal with family situations. They have all that experience. Now they use that in Krishna's service along with their knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So this is a program for life. Now, one cannot stop desiring, one cannot stop working. Impossible. Although there's an entire school of yoga and philosophy that says you must stop everything, whether it's Buddhism or impersonal Mayavad school of the Vedanta. This, of course, is completely contrary to what the Shastra says. You cannot blank out your consciousness and not desire anything. You can do it artificially, just like when you go to sleep, it looks like you blank everything out, but not really not, because you're dreaming. Even in sleep, people dream. So the mind is working. While you're awake, you see a mountain and you buy a gold ring. And then you go to sleep and you dream of a golden mountain. Mind is working, even in the sleep. Of course, it's scrambling everything, but it's working. Or you go to the zoo and you see a tiger. Then you go home, you go to sleep, and you see a tiger chasing you in the jungle, and you're running like anything. Tiger, tiger, help! There's no tiger. There's no jungle. You're not running. You're sleeping in the bed. But you're seeing it, and it's real. Because that you're sweating, and you're moving around, and you're screaming, tiger, tiger. Now, if someone's watching you while you're sleeping, you say, wow, what is that person seeing? There's no tiger here. So, but he's experiencing it. So the mind is working even in the sleep. You can't stop it. However, knowing that you cannot stop desiring, knowing that you cannot stop the mind from working, knowing you cannot stop activity, why then are people teaching that you should stop all these things. Nirakar, nirguna, these are the words that they use. No form, you don't have any form. The truth is formless. Nirguna, the truth has no qualities. And no desires, no activity. Right? But then the Shastra says that you cannot stop acting. See, in the 3rd chapter, it says very clearly, Nahi kaschit shanam api jatu tistati karma krit karyatehi avasa karma sarva prakriti jarguna. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. So this is Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter 5th verse. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada says, it is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. Without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. So somebody came here the other day who believes that you can blank everything out, you have to meditate on nothingness or the imperceptible oneness. If it's imperceptible, how can you meditate on it? So I said to him, how long do you meditate a day? He said, well, I can do, 20 minutes. I said, well, what's the longest you ever meditated? He said, I think it was like an hour and a half. Then what happened? He said, well, I got all fidgety and I had to do something else. I said, see? The people that are teaching you this meditation, they're saying that the ultimate goal is you will meditate forever like that. And you can't even do it 20 minutes. How are you going to do it forever? You're getting bored after 20 minutes. What's going to happen to you if you're forced to do it forever? I said, it's untenable. You cannot do it. Because the nature of the soul is to be active. The nature of the soul is to desire. Then how can you blank everything out? He said, well, I don't know. They say I can do it. They say. I say, even they can't do it. How long do they meditate? Oh, the one person is meditating 20 hours. I said, 20 hours. Okay, how many hours are there in a lifetime? I said, I don't know. Okay, you see? They can do it 20 hours. That 20 hours is nothing. We're talking about eternity. You can't even do it. Okay, they can do 20 hours. Let's say they can do it 20 days. That doesn't mean they're going to continue eternally doing it, because it's not the nature of the soul. He said, well, then what do you do? I said, well, what you do is you learn how to desire for Krishna. You learn how to act for Krishna. Then you go back to the spiritual world where you can continue to do that eternally. I said, when you have a good time, what do you do? Oh, well, I like to come to the temple and dance like this. I said, yes. And then what do you do after that? Well, I go downstairs, I have some prasadam. What do you do after that? Well, then I chant some more. I said, do you ever get tired chanting, feasting, dancing? He said, so no, if God gives me the energy, I could do it forever. I said, there's the point. You could do it forever, right? It's full of variety. It's full of life. It's full of fun. You could do it forever. That's the whole point. But you can't do meditation. Even 20 minutes you get fidgety. So why are you following a philosophy that's saying at the end you will meditate forever, when you can't even meditate 20 minutes? Well, maybe, he said, maybe I can do it. Okay, maybe you can do an hour and a half. That's the longest you ever did it. Have you ever done 20 hours? I said, no, I never did 20 hours. And 20 hours is nothing. You see how crazy people are? Just like if I buy a ticket in Seattle, on the Seattle Metro, right? Metro bus, and on the ticket it says Bothell. But I'm thinking New York. So I sit in the bus, and the bus ends up somewhere in Bothell. And I say to the bus driver, so when are we going to get to New York? He said, what do you mean New York? I said, well, I thought this takes me to New York. He said, this doesn't take you to New York, it takes you to Bothell. I said, no, I've been cheated. He said, what do you mean cheated? It's on the ticket. I said, no, but I thought it's Bothell, New York. There's no Bothell, New York. This is Bothell, Washington. You know. So I get a ticket thinking it's going to take me all the way to New York State, but it only takes me about 20 miles to Bothell. That's it. So the same thing with this impersonal yoga or even Buddhism. You're going to merge into nothingness, or you're going to merge into some eternal light where there's no individuality. You have to deny your own individuality to do it. You have to deny all desires. You have to deny your passion for love, for relationship. You're going to be a non-entity, a non-individual. Does that make sense? None of it makes sense. You know, it only makes sense like this. Let's say you have a terrible toothache, and you're going, oh, you go to the dentist, and the nurse says, what's the matter? I got a terrible toothache. Doctor has to come right away. It's okay, come inside. You sit down, the doctor says, what's the matter? I got a toothache, it's killing me. I never want to have a toothache again. He said, you never want one again? Yeah, I didn't do anything. I never want a toothache again. I said, okay, just sit here 1 second. I'll be right back. So he goes and gets his change saw. You know. He comes back. I said, just lift your neck a little bit like this. Okay, doc, please stop this. I can't stand this toothache. Okay, it's going to stop forever now. Zzz, it cuts his head off. Now, is that a solution? Is that the solution he was looking for? But he said, I never want to have a toothache again. Well, he'll never have a toothache again. Cut his head off. But that's stupid. That's not a solution to the problem. Well, that's not the type of solution he wants. So this is what the impersonal philosophy gives. It gives a permanent solution to suffering. But it's not permanent, because even if you attain Brahman, or even if you can merge into some kind of nothingness, you can't stay there, because the nature of the soul is to be active and to desire. And who wants to merge into nothingness? What an unbelievable, unintelligent goal that is. You know, you want your bank account to merge into nothingness? You want your family to merge into nothingness? You want your car to merge into nothingness? And there's nothing left? Who would accept such an insane philosophy? You know? Or you want to be one. I am you, you are me, we are thou, thou is us is them is all is one. Right? So if you believe that, give me your credit card. Give me your car. You don't need a car because we're all one. I'm you, you're me. Your car is mine. Right? All insanity. When you talk about money, no one accepts all is one. When you talk about God, people accept any rubbish thing. They say, oh yeah, that's true, we're all one. Okay, give me your money. What do you mean? I'm not going to give you my money. It's my money. I earned the money. Yeah, but you just said we're all one. All one when we talk rubbish about God, but not when we talk about money. When you talk about money, my money is my money, your money is your money. You put your hand near my money, I kill you. You see how people are. They're very clear when they talk about money, but when they talk about God, they can say any rubbish thing, and people say, yes, that makes sense. Yes, we can become God. I just paid $700, and I learned to levitate by going like this. And finally, I'll be able to levitate, and I'll go up wherever I want, and then I'll come back. You know, only $700. I had a friend of mine. He was a devotee of Krishna, but then he left. So about a year or two later, I met him. I said, Adibhuta, how are you? He said, oh, very good. I said, what have you been doing? He said, oh, I'm engaged in spiritual life. I said, really? What kind of spiritual life? Oh, I got the secret mantra. I said, you got a secret mantra? What's your mantra? No, it's a secret. How can it be a secret if I tell you? I said, come on, I'm your friend. I said, first of all, how much did you pay for it? He said, well, I bargained them down. I said, well, what did they ask for in the beginning? I said, we have $1,500, $1,500 at that time. So I said, well, what'd you get them down to? He said, I got them for $750, half price. I said, really? What's the mantra? He said, I'm not going to tell you. Why should I tell you? You go and pay for the mantra. No, come on, I'm your friend. So after pestering him, he finally, okay, I'll tell you. I said, what is it? He said, Narashringa. I said, what? You paid $750 for that mantra, Narashringa? He said, yes, don't tell anyone. I said, I'm going to tell everyone. So what do you mean? Look, Prabhupada gave you the whole Narashringa mantra for nothing. And you go, and you got cheated. He gave you the whole mantra. You got the first word of the mantra, and you paid 750 francs. I said, are you crazy? He said, well, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was a deal. I said, you've gone nuts. You see how crazy people are? He got the whole Narashringa mantra. Namaste Narashinhaya Pralada Lada Dayani Hiranyakashipur Bhakshahar Silatam Kanakalaye Ito Nishingha Parato Nishingho Yato Yato Yamitato Nishingha Bahir Nishingha Hirdaye Nishingha Narashina Madim Saranam Prabhu. I said, he gave you the whole mantra for free, and you, like an idiot, you went and spent 750 francs to buy the first word of the mantra. I said, does that make sense? He said, well, I don't know. I said, I don't know. I said, that's the point. You don't know. Because you don't know, it's easy to be cheated. But I said, you have no excuse to say you don't know, because you did know. You're more condemnable than the Joe Schmo in the street that doesn't really know. You already had the whole mantra, and you let them cheat you. You see? You see how foolish people have become. It's big time money. Every taxi driver now wants to become a guru. They can only make so much money driving a taxi, but if they become a guru, they become like a crorepati in a few years. They say, Asirbat, Asirbat, Asirbat. And people go, oh, Maharaj, thank you. Here, Maharaj, here. Take some more money from me. Give me more Asirbat. It's complete nonsense. Anyway, God bless them. India is an amazing place. With all the nonsense, still it goes on. Oh, he sits up. Which temple is that? Jai Gurudev. Well, now we have the same thing in America. There was a black preacher named Daddy Grace, and Daddy Grace had a fire hose. You ever see the fire trucks? They have these big hoses, right? And he would do mass baptism. He said, "Now I will free all you people from sin. Now say hallelujah." He would spray them with the fire hose, like 1,000 people at once. It was a massive baptism, right? So they don't just do it in India; they do it here too. As long as there are idiots, you always have cheaters. There's a story. He who knows nothing believes anything. He who knows nothing will believe anything. So, anyway, there was once a king, and he had a very, very good queen. And one day some guru came, and the guru sort of mesmerized the king, hypnotized him with his blah, blah, blah. Very similar to what Deepak Chopra does when he speaks. You know, he talks all blah, 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 but people become mesmerized. Oh my God, I didn't understand one word, but it was certainly wonderful. So, you know, he knows how to use all the words and everything. It's all nonsense, but people think, wow, he must know what he's talking about because I didn't understand one word. You know, okay. So anyway, this guru mesmerized the king and convinced him that all is one. So afterwards, he went up to his wife. He said, "Oh, this was the most illuminating experience of my life. You know, now I'm convinced all is one." His wife didn't know what he was talking about. You know, it sounded strange. You know how people become glassy-eyed. You know, Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev. You know, and she said, "Well, what does that mean?" He said, "That means that now I can have many wives." She said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, all is one. So I can have many wives." She said, "But how do you understand that?" He said, "All is one. That means, like Ravana, he had thousands of wives. All is one." She said, "Like Ravana?" He said, "Yeah, Gurudev said, like Ravana, all is one. He had thousands of wives." So she didn't say anything. She was like really shocked and she was really upset, you know, but she couldn't say anything. So she had a guru. She went up to her guru and said, "Gurudev, I think my husband has gone crazy. He was influenced by some guru who convinced him all is one. Now he wants to marry 1,000 wives like Ravana." He said, "Yes, I've seen this before." She said, "What can I do?" He said, "You do like this, my daughter." So she went home. Next day she announced to the king that her husband said, "You know, I'm convinced of your guru's philosophy, all is one." He said, "Really? I'm so happy. I'm so happy because I already have arranged to marry 1,000 more wives." He said, "Oh, this is wonderful." She said, "But I want to celebrate this auspicious event of you becoming illuminated, all is one. Tomorrow I want you to invite your guru and everybody to come. I'm going to make the food myself." So he said, "Oh, okay." So they set up a big banquet hall and special tables of honor for the king and his guru. And the wife had made a big, big feast. And there was like 1,000 people came, you know, all the nobles, all the big people in the country. And she began to serve the food, you know. And so she served the guru and her husband first. And she explained, "Now, all these things I got help to make, but this one thing I made myself. This is the special preparation. This is called the all is one preparation." So they said, "Oh, okay, we'll start with that then." She said, "Yes, please." So then, you know, after everyone was served, and they said some little prayer, you know, what's that prayer? Guru Brahma. Right. They said that prayer. Then the signal was given. Then the king said, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, my dear wife, who now is convinced all is one, has made this one special preparation for Gurudev and myself. So we're going to begin with this." So they both go like this. They spit it out. Said, "What is this?" And she said, "This is all in one." "What do you mean all in one? It tastes like Gobar." She said, "Yeah, all is one." "So what do you mean all is one?" They were like spitting it out, you know. They took some water, rinsed their mouth, and spit it out. So what do you mean all is one? I said, "Well, look, from the cow, milk is coming. From the cow, Gobar is coming. You said all is one. So what's the difference, Gobar or milk?" They said, "What kind of crazy philosophy is this?" She said, "That's all is one. What kind of crazy philosophy? You tell me all is one, now I'm going to marry 1,000 more wives. Isn't that the same?" So he didn't say anything, and he and the guru left. He was really upset, and everyone looked on. They were laughing, you know. Said, "All is one, it's nonsense." So next day, the king had the guru put in jail. They convicted him of misinformation, which is the worst crime. It's not murder. It's misinformation. And they had him hanged. And the king never spoke about other wives. And he never spoke about all as one after that. So later on, the wife went back to the Guru and said, Guru Dev, thank you very much. He said, don't mention it. I said, this is normal. There's so many rascals teaching nonsense, but we can overcome it with good sense. She said, okay, now my husband doesn't believe all is one, but he still doesn't understand what the truth is. How can I teach him what the truth is? He said, I said, that's a little more complicated. And she said, well, what can I do? So I'll tell you again. So he told her what to do. So the next day, she told her husband, she said, today I'm going to cook for you. He said, no more cooking for me. He said, no, I'm going to cook for you again, but I'm not going to make all as one. I'm going to make everything belongs to Krishna feast. He said, oh, Krishna, that's good. He likes ladus, he likes rasmalai, he likes nice rice, basmati rice with ghee. She said, yes. So she said, I'm not going to invite anyone, just you. So she made a fabulous feast. She offered it first to the deities, and she offered it to him. And she said, from now on, every day I'm going to cook for you. He said, really? You never did this before. She said, I know. But now all belongs to Krishna. That's our new philosophy. He said, well, I'm not sure about that. She said, I know. But it'll happen. So every day she would cook for him and offer it first to Krishna. And bring it back as prasad. And she would make very, very nice preparations every day. She learned how to cook so many things. She read one of the ISKCON cookbooks. So she learned how to cook really good. After a little while, her husband would say, everything belongs to Krishna. She said, yes. Now this is the real philosophy. She said, we should read the Srimad Bhagavatam, how Maharaj Priyavrata, how Maharaj Prithu would practice everything belongs to Krishna. He said, really? What? How did he do that? She said, we'll read it together. So they used to read the Bhagavatam together. And because he was a king, he started practicing what Maharaj Prithu did, and what Maharaj Ambarish did, and what Maharaj Priyavrata did, and what Maharaj Prahlad did, and what Maharaj Dhruva Maharaj did. And he became the most popular saintly king. And everyone in the kingdom was happy, because instead of all as one, they believed that everything belongs to Krishna. So the wife simply followed her guru's instructions. It saved her from all as one, and it helped convince the king that everything belongs to Krishna. This is real philosophy. But how did she do it? She did it with food. In the first instance, it was Gobar. In the second instance, it was Mahaprasad. Okay. So, now, we're going to skip over the first step in God realization, the rest of the chapter, and go to the chapter entitled, The Lord is in the Heart, chapter 2, of which we have already read some previously. And now we're going to go a little further into that chapter where we left off. So we'll go to second chapter, verse 6. Thus, being fixed, one must render service unto the Supersoul, situated in one's own heart, by his omnipotency, because he is the almighty personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited. He is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshiping him, one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. So previous to this verse, it explained how to withdraw the mind from material sense gratification and the frenetic attempt to acquire material things for sense gratification. That doesn't mean you live with nothing. It just means that you learn to live with a respectable minimum of things. Not nothing, but with a respectable minimum, so your life is not too complicated. And everything above that you use in the service of Krishna. Even your respectable minimum you use in the service of Krishna. Right? And it says, thus being fixed in the determination to serve Krishna, without being diverted to obsessive behavior for material power, for material opulence, for material sense gratification, for material fame. One must render service unto the super soul situated in one's own heart. In other words, we're carrying Krishna in our heart. Sometimes people are looking for Krishna outside, but they have to learn how to look within, because he's right there. So this is the mistake a lot of people make. Because he is the Almighty Personality, Godhead, eternal and unlimited. He is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshiping him, one can end the course of the conditioned state of existence. We are conditioned by material nature through the three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Because of that, we do not see things correctly. Just like the vision of a dog and the vision of a human being are different. The vision of a moth and the vision of a human being are different. The vision of a snake and the vision of a human being are different. Just like yesterday, a mother, woke up 3 o'clock in the morning and heard her cow growling, like really, really growling. And she turned on a light, and she looked in the crib of her baby, which was next to her. And she saw that there was a cobra wrapped around her baby's arm, and, she was like shocked. It was a big cobra, like 6 feet long, but it was wrapped around her baby's arm and around the body somewhat. And she freaked out and grabbed the cobra near the head, right? And she was struggling with it and trying to choke it, and the cobra bit her baby 2 or 3 times, Of course, cobras don't have poison, right? They choke things and swallow it. And then finally she pulled the baby's arm away from the cobra and threw it on the ground, and they both ran out of the house. Well, they called the police, and the police called a special snake handler. They're on 24-hour call in Australia. So the snake handler came, and he knew what to do. And he took the snake, and they didn't kill the snake. They didn't kill the cobra. They took it 5 miles away from the house and let it go. And then he came back and explained to the lady. He said, this snake was living in their house. That's why the cat had been acting strange for like a week, growling all the time, making strange. But this time the cat went berserk, right? That's why she woke up. He said he was probably living in your house. He said, but these snakes, they have a type of radar. And he was not going to kill your child. He could understand that the child's body was warm, and he just wanted to cuddle up to a warm body. That's why he coiled around the child's arm. He said he wasn't going to kill the child. He wasn't going to eat it. He said, you misunderstood. Now, what would you do if you saw a cobra coiled around your baby? No, the cobra was not going to kill the baby. He wanted to see. They have a certain type of radar perception. He could see that the baby's body was warm, and the snake wanted to cuddle next to a warm body. They seek out sometimes warm places. See, the snake handler, he understood the mentality of the snake. The lady didn't understand. I mean, I wouldn't understand it. If I saw the snake like that, I would freak out. But the snake handler understood. There was no reason to freak out. They could have easily, left it like that, and the snake would have gone away. Or, I don't know, they could have taken it away without all the drama. So, it's very interesting, isn't it? The snake sees things different than we do. We're all affected, and it's not that we see things correctly and the snake sees things incorrectly. We're all affected by the molds of material nature. So our vision, our perception of things is not normal. Why? We don't see the presence of Krishna, that's why. Krishna is present everywhere in the material creation. We don't see him. What we see in material things, just like if we see a wallet filled full of money in the street, how do we see it? Well, some people see it as their lucky day. And they grab the wallet, take out everything of value, and throw it away. And they use it for their own purpose. That's one way of seeing the wallet. Another way of seeing a wallet is they take out everything of value, but they keep, the cards and other things that are traceable, and then they return it. Turn it in some lost and found, and eventually gets back to the owner, minus the money. Right? Then other people might see it in a different way, that, I should return this to the owner. So people look at the wallet differently. We're not seeing things correctly. We're like the snake or the moth. Our vision, we're hardwired by this body to see in only certain ways. But through the process of Krishna consciousness, we can change that. And this is what's being explained here now. It says, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 1861, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the all-pervading, omnipresent Supersoul. Therefore, one who is a yogi can worship only him because he is the substance and not illusion. This is interesting. In other words, everything we're seeing right now as material objects, without seeing its connection to Krishna, that's the illusory way of seeing. In other words, it's not that the microphone doesn't exist, but thinking that it exists independent of God, that's the illusion. We don't say the microphone doesn't exist. It does exist. Even though its existence is temporary. It still has, if I grabbed the microphone and hit you over the head with it, you would say the microphone exists because you felt the blow on your head. Right? So it does exist, but what's an illusion is thinking it has no connection to Krishna, not seeing its connection to Krishna. That's the illusion. And because of that, we imagine I can own the microphone. I can do whatever I want with the microphone. It's whatever I desire. See, that's all of those false concepts are the illusion. Therefore, one who is a yogi can worship only him, because he is the substance and not illusion. Every living creature is engaging in the service of something else. That's the other thing we can't stop. We can't stop serving. We can't stop acting. We can't stop desiring. And we can't stop serving something or someone. Just like we explained, if you don't serve God, you will serve dog. Right? G-O-D, D-O-G. A living being's constitutional position is to render service, but in the atmosphere of Maya, or illusion, or the conditional state of existence, the conditioned soul seeks the service of illusion. What I'm serving is my desire to be the owner and controller of this microphone. I'm not even serving the microphone. I'm just serving my own desire that I've fantasized in my brain. See? And because of that, I get into trouble. Because this microphone belongs to someone else. So if I try and grab it according to my own whimsical desire, I'll get into trouble. Ultimately, the microphone belongs to Krishna. Therefore, I should only use it in the service of Krishna. But if I think it belongs to me, then I'm going to get in trouble. Trouble with who? The laws of material nature. We become a thief by such imperfect understanding. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, where it says, 3rd chapter, verse 6, one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So, there are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness, but make a show of meditation. Okay, then in another verse, one second. I'm going to have to find this later then. There's another verse that says that someone who doesn't use things in Krishna's service becomes a thief. Stena is the word that's used. Okay, anyway, we'll have to come back to it. Huh? Stena, S-T, huh? Yeah. Which verse is that? Yes, third chapter. Maybe it's in the beginning. Let me see. Is it 12? S-T-E-N-A. Okay, I'm not finding it. If you find it, let me know where it is. Oh, no, here it is. 12th verse, yeah. Istan boga hivo deva dasyante yagya bhavitaha tayadatan apradaya yo bhunkte stena evasa. In charge of various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yagya, or sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. In other words, everything we're receiving, rain, changing seasons, digestive power, sun, moon, all these things are being supplied to us. If we accept them but don't make an offering to God before we use them, then we are a thief. That's what's basically said here. Just like someone goes to Ganga to worship Ganga, so the priest will say, okay, take a cup some of the water in your hand, go like this, Ganga Mata Ki Jai, and then offer it back. So the way you worship Ganga is with the water of the Ganga, right? And you offer it back to her. Before you step into the Ganga, first you take some water on your head and you bow down to Ganga, because it's a holy river. It's not the Mississippi River. It's Ganga. Right? So these are things we learn by associating with genuine devotees who have the correct vision of things in the proper perspective. Perspective is everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing is independent of the Lord. Therefore, everything should be used properly in Krishna's service. Otherwise, what is it? Yena stena. Yeah, exactly. We become a stena, a thief. Now, what happens to thieves? Punished. Punished by who? Not by the Sammamish police or the judge, King County Court. By Yamaraj and the laws of material nature. We might be able to trick the judge and the jury, just like, O.J. Simpson, he tricked, his lawyer was very sharp, he tricked the jury, he handpicked a bunch of idiots to be on the jury. Then they had this glove that was left behind by the murderer, right? So they made O.J., the lawyer made O.J. wear the glove, and he said, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. So then there was a very dramatic part of the trial where O.J. puts the glove on and says, I can't get it on. I can't get it on. Right? Based on that stupid criterion, they acquitted him. And the lawyer, Johnny Cochran, used that phrase, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. It sounded like a rap song. And the jury believed it, although he was guilty. He had definitely killed them. There was no doubt about it. Anyway, but you can't trick Yamaraj. No way. So, therefore, no one gets away with anything in the material world. But the wheel of justice turns slowly but surely. Right. A living being's constitutional position is to render service, but in the atmosphere of Maya, or illusion, or the conditional state of existence, the conditioned soul seeks the service of illusion. A conditioned soul works in the service of his temporary body, bodily relatives like wife, husband, and children, and necessary paraphernalia for maintaining the body and bodily relations, such as the house, land, wealth, society, and country. But he does not know that all such renderings of service are totally illusory. Why does he say illusory? Well, because nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubayor apitristonos, natas, tvanayos tattvadarsabi. That which is eternal has no cessation, and that which is not eternal has no duration. So things that do not have duration in time, they're called asat. And things that have no cessation in time, they're called sat. So if we concern ourselves only with asat things, that's called illusory, because at a certain point it disappears. The house you're living in, you won't be living there forever. The car you have, you won't have it forever. The body you have, or we have, we won't have it forever. So these are of the nature of asat. They're temporarily existing, but they don't exist eternally. And to be attached to these things permanently is a mistake. Just like there's this Japanese-American senator that just died, Mr. Inoue in Hawaii. He's been the senator for I don't know how many years, 36 years, something like that. He was like 88 years old. He just died. So he wrote a letter to be delivered to the governor after he died, saying, if you would be very kind, please appoint Mrs. Yakamoku Hakuwaku as the next senator, right? Some Japanese lady, right? So the governor, I mean, the man's dead now, right? The governor appointed, it's some Joe Blow, American guy, not Japanese, as the senator to replace Inoue for the rest of his term. So that was like a slap in the face of Inoue, right? So he was thinking, this position belongs to the Japanese Americans. He handpicked his successor in case he died. Well, you see, nothing is permanent in the material world. He thought, that position would be eternally a Japanese American position. No, nothing is permanent. And we can't impose our will on this world. For some time it might look like we're imposing our will, but it'll all end and for naught. Inoue is forgotten now. He just died. Everyone forgot about him. He's insignificant right now. That's why it's called asat. But if we're trying to make asat into sat, that's called illusion. Or if we think asat can be sat, that's called illusion. It's temporarily existing, it has some temporary reality, but to imagine it to be permanent, that's asat. As we have discussed many times before, this material world is itself an illusion, like a mirage in the desert. In the desert, there's the illusion of water, and the foolish animals become entrapped by such an illusion and run after water in the desert, although there is no water at all. But because there's no water in the desert, one does not conclude that there's no water at all. The intelligent person knows well that there is certainly water in the seas and oceans, but such vast reservoirs of water are far, far away from the desert. One should therefore search for water in the vicinity of seas and oceans and not in the desert. Every one of us is searching after real happiness in life, namely eternal life, eternal or unlimited knowledge, and unending blissful life. But foolish people who have no knowledge of the substance search after the reality of life in the illusion. This material body does not endure eternally, and everything in relation to this temporary body, such as the wife, children, society, and country, also changes along with the change of body. This is called samsara, or repetition of birth, death, old age, and disease. We would like to find a solution for all these problems of life, but we do not know the way. Herein it is suggested that anyone who wants to make an end to these miseries of life, namely repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age, must take to this process of worshiping the Supreme Lord and not others, as it is also ultimately suggested in the Bhagavad Gita, 1865. If we at all want to end the cause of our conditioned life, we must take to the worship of Lord Shri Krishna, who is present in everyone's heart. Shri Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. Haribol. So we'll end in 1 minute. The baby in the lap of his mother is naturally attached to the mother, and the mother is attached to the baby. But when the child grows up and becomes overwhelmed by circumstances, he gradually becomes detached from the mother, although the mother always expects some sort of service from the grown-up child and is equally affectionate toward her child, even though the child is forgetful. Similarly, because we are all part and parcel of the Lord, the Lord is always affectionate to us, and he always tries to get us back home, back to Godhead. But we, the conditioned souls, do not care for him and run instead after the illusory bodily connections. We must therefore extricate ourselves from all illusory connections of the world and seek reunion with the Lord, trying to render service unto him because he is the ultimate truth. Actually, we are hankering after him as the child seeks the mother, and to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we need not go anywhere else because the Lord is within our hearts. This does not suggest, however, that we should not go to the places of worship, namely the temples, churches, and mosques. Such holy places of worship are also occupied by the Lord because the Lord is omnipresent. For the common man, these holy places are centers of learning about the science of God. When the temples are devoid of activities, the people in general become uninterested in such places, and consequently the mass of people gradually become godless, and a godless civilization is the result. Such a hellish civilization artificially increases the conditions of life, and existence becomes intolerable for everyone. The foolish leaders of a godless civilization try to devise various plans to bring about peace and prosperity in the godless world under a patent trademark of materialism. And because such attempts are illusory only, the people elect incompetent, blind leaders, one after another, who are incapable of offering solutions. If we want at all to end this anomaly of a godless civilization, we must follow the principles of revealed scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam and follow the instruction of a person like Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who has no attraction for material gain. So this is what our position is today. We elect incompetent, blind leaders, one after another, who are incapable of offering solutions. But if we want a solution, we must follow the Srimad Bhagavatam, the advice and information given by Sukadeva Goswami, who has no attraction for material gain. He hasn't delivered the Bhagavatam so that he can get his daughter married. This is not Bhagavatam Saptaha for my family. This is Bhagavatam, real Bhagavatam, for the upliftment of humanity. So we'll stop right there, second chapter, and continue. Tomorrow night someone will continue, second chapter, 7th verse. Hare Krishna. Any questions anyone would like to ask? Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you. Hare Krishna.